It's March of 1984, and a revolution is just getting underway. A revolution in the way local television stations will gather news. Using a Canadian-built KU-band uplink trailer, KSTP television from Minneapolis and St. Paul broadcasts this game live from Sioux City, Iowa. Nothing major there. Canada had been doing the same thing, broadcasting programs from remote locations on KU-band satellites. But this was the first time a local American television station had done that. Until now, American television stations depended on C-band transmission, which meant expensive satellite time, large permanent downlinks, FCC approval for a permanent downlink, line charges to the station, or additional microwave links to the station. Until March of 1984, it was cumbersome, expensive, and not entirely dependable. Making ideas work has been a trademark of Hubbard Broadcasting, and they felt the Canadian KU-band system was less expensive, more portable, and more dependable than C-band. The up and downlink dishes were smaller, the satellites more powerful. The technology to make immediate response news gathering was available. To make the idea of news gathering by satellite a reality, Hubbard Broadcasting invested large amounts of their own time and money. May 1984. The KSTP KU-band uplink truck was 175 miles from Minneapolis on the Minnesota-Dakota border, sending home live news stories concerning a major murder case. June 1984. KSTP and now the nation received their first pictures of the tornado destruction in tiny Barnevold, Wisconsin. What the Canadians had once only used for the transmission of entertainment programs, KSTP, with the Hubbard experimental trailer, was now using to gather and air news. They would copyright it SNG, Satellite News Gathering, and it would change the way local television stations thought about local news forever.
There's a war going on. It's a war between local television stations, and they'll do anything it takes to get you to watch their late local news. It's an ugly war. It's being fought with helicopters, live camera vans, pretty faces, and a lot of hype.
But we keep telling them this is where the news comes first.
But there's no way we can get a live picture out of there.
Well, why not?
Don't you know? That's beyond the nut tree.
40 miles.
For this Sacramento television station, the nut tree was 40 miles from their studios, about as far as live ENG or helicopters could get them. But now, with a satellite uplink, they could go anywhere in the U.S. to gather local news. There were still serious problems to overcome. With hand-picked engineers, the solutions were becoming evident. It was during the coverage of the Republican National Convention in Dallas, Texas, and later the Democratic Convention in San Francisco, that these engineers worked out the IFB problems. IFB and two-way communication to master control could now be done on the satellite. No more telephone lines. SNG was truly portable.
When we started Conus, we were told it wouldn't work. You were right, Marcia, there were naysayers, but it works, and it works beautifully well, and we're reaching that critical mass that's going to expand and explode, and we're really looking forward to becoming perhaps the largest news organization in America. As it is
To have such an organization would be useless unless that organization had its own satellite, or at least a transponder. Hubbard and a few other far-sighted broadcasters formed Conus Communications. It bought one transponder and negotiated access to two more. They hired news and engineering experts to build the remote trucks, to book the time on the satellite, to exchange information and news stories, to build a brand new communication industry. And while the doomsayers were ready to shout, "I told you so," other broadcasters around the country began to realize the value of gathering news by satellite. And they began buying the equipment, purchasing a share in the company, joining the Conus family.
Peter Quinn Hackes has the story of a satellite system named Conus. Say you're a station in St. Paul. A plane full of Minnesotans crashes in Reno. Your options for getting pictures back were often remote and/or expensive. But recently launched KU-band satellites are changing all that. They use higher power and thus need smaller dishes, and they don't have to be cleared with the government before transmitting. Now 23 stations around the country make up Conus, the first KU-band network. Every day, the Central Control Room in Minnesota coordinates video and live shot feeds.
A daily news story exchange was begun in the spring of 1985, followed in the fall by an evening story exchange. Local disasters of national interest occurred, and Conus sent its producers to coordinate the news coverage. The skeptics still pointed their unbelieving fingers at the embryonic organization until Hurricane Danny hit the Gulf Coast states. Danny, then Elena, then Gloria. Never before had viewers all across the country been able to watch a hurricane arriving, watch it pass through, and see the devastation all live and all in a single newscast.
Don Dare for the News Star Network.
During the days of the hurricanes, as many as 5 Conus trucks from as many cities broadcast hundreds of reports, not only for themselves, but for the other members as well. And the originator's predictions of creating the largest news organization in the United States is becoming a reality.
Now Omaha, live via satellite, takes on a whole new meaning with News Star 6. Channel 6 Action News brings
the Lowcountry's news leader is first again with live satellite technology.
And to New Orleans for Len Dawson perspectives on the Super Bowl.
News Star 9. We got reporters, they got reporters. We got typewriters, they got typewriters. We got a helicopter, they got a helicopter. We got a pencil sharpener, they got a pencil sharpener. We got a mobile satellite uplink, they don't. New Center 4 at 5, 6, and 11.
The architect Frank Lloyd Wright used to preach that form follows function. The shape of a building depends on what it's for. In television, though, what we see is often powerfully influenced by the tools of the trade. A perfect example is something called satellite news gathering, already showing signs of revolutionizing TV news.
News Star 7 on the mood at Mission Control in Houston. Dave?
Paul, as you can imagine...
this is WJLA, a local station in Washington, D.C., and an ABC affiliate. But the coverage isn't being supplied by the network. It's coming directly from a truck like this one. The truck is sending a signal up to a communication satellite and then right to the local station. Wherever this unit, called a KU-band truck, can go, a TV signal can be bounced off a satellite to any local station in North America. One dramatic example is an operation called Conus Communications. It uses satellite news gathering to form a new nationwide link among local stations. The local stations pay for it with a subscriber fee.
When a television station or a group of television stations find out that it is possible for them to do something without having to have a third party involved in a network, they will oftentimes do it.
And liftoff. Liftoff of the 25th Space Shuttle mission.
January 28, 0938 hours, Central Standard Time, Tuesday morning. Shuttle mission L-51 is a little over a minute old.
Challenger, go at throttle up. Roger, go at throttle up.
Flight controllers here looking very carefully at the situation. Obviously a major malfunction.
When that Challenger tragedy occurred, we were feeding the thing live. Within a matter of an hour, we had our KU-TV affiliates truck up at the Morton Thiokol. We had WCVB in Boston's truck up at Krista McAuliffe School. We had a truck at the Cape. We had a truck at the Houston Space Center. And we were live, direct, feeding all the stations on the Conus network. That's the kind of thing the stations can do acting together, and they can do it better than anybody can do it for them. And they are doing it, and they're going to continue to do it.
In its first 2 years of operations, Conus successfully managed more than 17,000 live and videotape feeds. Over 2,000 news people from member stations make Conus the largest television news gathering team in the United States, and the system continues to expand. A substantial Washington bureau enables Conus stations to provide their own coverage of presidential speeches, news conferences, and much more. The 50th and 51st members were recently signed. One of them is a Japanese network. The international market may very well provide the next new horizon for the company. And while Conus provides member stations with major events like Liberty Weekend, it's the Conus member stations themselves who have used the technology to provide even more innovative local broadcasting.
We'll be back in this newscast a little bit later to tell you more about this wonderful occasion. But we're going to go live to another birthday party on this nation's birthday, this July 4th. We're going now to Manor, Texas, and we'll hear a live report from News Star reporter Jim Moore. Jim, are you there?
Patty, that is the Farm Aid 2 crowd. They started out hoping for 30,000 people here, then they got up to 40,000, and it looks like right now they are pushing 50,000. People camped out on the sides of the road overnight trying to get into this place. They stood in line for 6 hours to buy tickets to sit in a 95-degree sun, wind, and dust, because Farm Aid 2 is what you would call a party with a purpose.
Okay, Jim, thank you.
KU-band technology is going to change the way that all of us do business. Now, what does that mean to a television station? It means that a television station can now do for itself, in connection with and collaboration with other TV stations, that which only networks could do for them prior to this KU-band technology.
Actually, it offers a lot of reasons for hope. For the old dinosaur networks, it means a new and perhaps creative search for identity, a new foundation for being able to say, we are still indispensable. For local stations, it means less happy talk, more maturity. And with that maturity, a chance to apply all that fancy equipment to a tougher, more searching kind of journalism, instead of merely packaging information that is readily at hand. And that, as a wise man once said, is the way it is these days.
And all this has happened since March of '84. It's happened because visionary local broadcasters had the insight to realize the potential of this extraordinary technology, to imagine the needs of an entirely new industry, and to build the support organizations to sustain, indeed nurture it. While some remained grounded in the here and now, Conus members saw the potential and supported it, not only with finances, but with commitments of their news departments. They created a revolution in local news gathering, and the revolution is still evolving.